Hello and welcome to the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation CISM Live series. My name is Kelly and I'll be your host for today's discussion. Today we're joined by guest speaker, Reverend Rob Dewey, to discuss giving thanks and gratitude. Rob Dewey is an Episcopal priest who has lived in Charleston, South Carolina for 30 years. In 1990, he began a full-time nonprofit ministry to minister to first responders and victims of crime. During his tenure of service, he served as the lead chaplain for 40 different agencies, including local, state, and federal agencies. He has been a member of ICISF since 1996 and is also ICISF faculty. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate you inviting me to be with y'all today.
And we're excited to have you. Before we get into today's discussion, we are actually looking to improve our CISM Live series in 2022 and make it even better for you, our viewers. If you have a few minutes, please click on the link in the description and fill out the survey and let us know what topics you'd like to see discussed next year. So today we're actually going to discuss giving thanks and gratitude and ways that we can give thanks and show gratitude during this upcoming holiday season. So Rob, this past year has been a struggle for many of us. Have you found that folks are resilient coming out of this year to the point that they can give thanks?
Again, thank you for having me. I think that giving thanks is something that we are challenged to do 365 days a year. And but it gets focused on certainly during this time of year of Thanksgiving and the other holidays. And so we have needed to be resilient within our lives and our jobs and our families. And sometimes we may not have been as good as we want to be, but it's I think that as we talk further in the discussion today, that we're not an island, so we need each other. And so to be able to give thanks and meaningful thanks, we need to look for those opportunities each and every day to thank someone that's on our squad, that's a past first responder, or someone that we have met through World Congresses, and just to be appreciative to you all, the staff, for what you all do, because I know it's been a struggle of a year for y'all to keep moving on and to make us better.
It definitely has been an interesting turn of events over the last year and a half to 2 years. But thankfully, due to our leadership and our board of directors, they've been instrumental in helping us succeed. So how does giving thanks always intersect with our family?
I think sometimes families, biological families, are one of the hardest to give thanks to. And sometimes I find that maybe at Thanksgiving, I don't get with biological family, but I get with folks that are more like-minded, and that we can give thanks together. One of the things that I'm doing in my semi-retired life is chaplain for the Veterans Court, State Court, and the Federal Drug Court, and the State Alcohol Diversion Court. So what we did yesterday was make provision for them, the participants that have drug issues but have pleaded guilty to some crimes, to be able to go to a Thanksgiving dinner at one of our restaurants. So we were gone on and prepaid for that, so they can go if they're going to be at home by themselves. So I think, especially as we're around Veterans Day also, and Thanksgiving coming up, that I think that if we can reach outside of ourselves, and also outside maybe of our biological families, that we're going to perhaps find a blessing. But life is short, and I try and encourage folks to keep short accounts with each other when they're upset, and also particularly with family members, because life goes quick and we need to appreciate what we have. So giving thanks does intersect with family, and we just need to see what the most healthy for us is going to be to address that thanks. And it may be just a simple card, maybe a phone call, it may be flying across the country. For me, it's not getting on an airplane. Yeah, I don't like the rush. As I've gotten older, I don't like the stress. So I choose to go at an off time, except for Christmas and Thanksgiving or Easter. So just do it at a different time. So see what works for yourself, and where you feel blessed with your family and the people that you bring in as a non-biological family is what I would encourage us to do.
Well, those are all very important tips. So thank you for sharing. So is it normal not to feel a sense of thanks or gratitude?
I think so. If you watch too much news, yes. No matter what channel you watch, I think that there's so much depression on there. And I remember probably before you were born, Kelly, that we had the Iranian hostage situation, and I was in seminary in Pittsburgh, and we ended up watching Nightline and every night at 11:30, and that was depressing. And I think that that we need to be careful of where we put our time and our minds, and that it's easy not to feel thanks because of some of the yucky stuff that is in the world, if you will. So that's one of the things that I get charged about in a great way, is coming to things like World Congress or some of your local events, because I'm with like-minded people. I know it's a safe place and I can give thanks there. But sometimes I think that it's hard to come off a scene like I used to do. I'm semi-retired now, but going to two children that died in a house fire and coming home at 4 a.m, how do you give thanks to that? But you look at ways to get through it and support families, support each other. And it's okay to cry. And it's okay. And we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but it's okay to share with other people and cry. So I think that you need to pull together not only for self-care, but for community care. Who is going to be your community, so that you can give thanks when you don't want to. In the Bible, it says give thanks in everything. And I think that, when you get fired from a job, when you go through a divorce, lose a child, have someone pass away in a traffic fatality, have a partner who have died. I buried or been a part of 38 first responder funerals over the last 30 years. And so we can come together as a unit and care for each other, text each other, call each other, and look for ways to support each other in the midst of the yucky stuff that's thrown upon us. But I don't think that we always feel like giving thanks. One of the examples that I give when I'm teaching the pastoral crisis intervention course that George and I worked on is that we, if we can turn around something that has been bad, and the example, and look for good things that come out of it. One of the example that I use a lot is when I was on ground zero, day 2 or 3, and I had a fireman come up to me and said, "Hey, chaplain, will you pray for me? My uncle and my brother are inside." And so this fireman, he seemed 7 feet tall. And, if I'd said to him at that point, "What do you think you can give thanks for?" Not the right timing. So I think that, but if I went back to him now and said, "Hey, has anything good come out of that tragic loss?" He would have some things that probably have happened that have been positive. But I think we need to be careful of our timing, and not to give sometimes thanks too quickly, and just be slow and deliberate and heartfelt in what we say and what we do and our actions.
Well, and your example of crisis responder that you spoke to actually ties in nicely to my next question, because we do have a lot of crisis responder viewers. So crisis responders and other public safety heroes, they work year round through holidays, special occasions, and other important family events. So what are some tips for them to show gratitude as this holiday season approaches?
Well, in a way, it's for them to show gratitude, but it's a way also for the public to show gratitude. One of the things that I've always tried to do in the Charleston area is to have First Responders Day, where local churches and the community can come together and recognize these folks for what they do 24/7. But I think that there's the thin blue wall that we have for law enforcement and for EMS and for fire personnel, that they become their own family, and how important it is to reach out to that own family. And sometimes chaplains are allowed in there, and sometimes peers are allowed in there, but not always. And I think it's a great opportunity when we're invited to a firehouse for Thanksgiving dinner, and I never turn it down, and I never have had a bad dinner. But
that's very true.
One of the things that on the ground zero that I did is I had the local media back here in Charleston put it out that we were receiving, I was a chaplain there with the disaster mortuary team out of FEMA. And so I had a truckload of cards and boxes for my forensic pathologists, my coroners, DNA experts. We had 317 folks up at New York City for that. And that blessed their hearts. And so I still have some of the letters that some of the kids sent the firemen, and also the disaster mortuary response team. One of the kids actually put in his shoebox a lottery ticket. So I don't know how that worked out for the first responder, but I think that especially as chaplains and peers and people that have been trained by ICISF, that we have the opportunity of bringing in a skill set that is certainly not taught in seminaries. And that's one of the things that that George Everly, Dr. Everly, and I have stressed, is that the course that we teach is not for to take the place of seminary, but it's in addition to. So one of the things when I've trained chaplains is to encourage them, you don't pray real quick when you get on a scene. How do you pray with a mom when her son's in the next room having just committed suicide 10 minutes early? That mom doesn't want those prayers right then, unless they ask for it, which has really never happened to me in 28 years. So I think we need to be very sensitive to timing of giving thanks, but now is definitely the season to do it, and also to keep it going in January, February, March.
And kind of integrate it into a year round of giving thanks and showing gratitude, I'm sure, because, they always need to know, especially because they do work 24/7, and it's not just crisis responders. I mean, we're talking about mental health providers and teachers and a ton of other professions that are out there, airline staff.
One of the adjectives that I look for is that we are cheerleaders. Anybody that's associated with ICISF, the bottom line is that we are maybe trained cheerleaders, and that we're looking for opportunities to cheer on those people that need uplifting. But then I think it's important to remember that we need uplifting sometimes too. I went through a real difficult time in 1985, and then again in about 5 years ago. And the most recent time where I had a struggle, George Everly was there for me. And I think that we need to have friends in place before we need them in place. So look for people that can be our community and to support us.
That's
And
that's a great reminder. I mean, building community is so important. So that way, when something negative does happen or something occurs in your life that maybe is unexpected, that we're actually prepared to handle that, or have the support system built in place for that.
well, it's like when I in 1996 or 7 invited Jeff Mitchell and George Everly down to Charleston. I really didn't know too much about, at that point it was called CISD. I didn't know about too much about CISM. And, but I knew what I'd been doing since 1990 was working by me going on crime scenes and helping first responders, and by me being there to help them with the families. So I would take care of dealing with the families of homicides or suicides. And so then I became part of the team of the agencies that we assisted with. So I think that it takes a while. It doesn't happen immediately to become part of that team. But when you put in the 2 o'clock in the mornings long enough, they know that you'll be there and that you'll care for them. And that way you're giving thanks. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention the dispatchers. I mean, we couldn't do our ministry. The first responders couldn't do their jobs without these blessed dispatchers. And I know that you all have a book that you push about, call it, to dispatchers.
I'm sorry, what was the book called?
You know, there's a book that has been pushed by ICISF, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, but
that's okay. You cut out there for a second, though.
Sorry, I'm having computer issues. But
Okay.
I think that, for example, we had if I'm out at 2 o'clock in the morning, no big deal if I take another 30 minutes and drop by the dispatch center and see those folks, and they're going to remember that. And then we have officer involved shooting, where we have a couple of officers that were killed a few years ago. Not only did we send chaplains to the hospital and to the scene and to the squad room, but we also sent them to the dispatch center. So I didn't want to miss waving the flag of the dispatchers.
Yeah, no, they're also an important profession, much like all of our other crisis responders, and even public safety personnel that, we want to make sure that everyone's included in that, because it's very true.
And it's fun. It's fun being a cheerleader. Sometimes you need being cheered on, but it's fun being a cheerleader.
It is. It is. It's a way of helping and giving back to those that you count on and those that you rely on.
Absolutely.
On a daily basis. So, so what are some other tips that you can provide for us to give thanks, especially during this time of year as the holidays approach, or even as the new year approaches?
Sometimes I find that I have been reaching in too much to myself, and that I need to quit worrying about myself so much, but reach out a little bit. Maybe go for a ride along with an officer, care for them, go to the dispatch center, and not just take care of myself. Self-care is good, and we'll talk about it, but it's also helpful, I think, to get out of ourselves and look for different ways to touch people's lives. So I think that, and I guess I'm going to preaching, but look for ways to reach out beyond yourself. And I think that helps us and helps what we're made to do, especially those trained, under you all at the ICIS level. So I would encourage that as much as possible. And then, yes, to do the self-care would be a tip. We all have been through self-care courses, but 5 years ago, I needed some other people to care for me besides myself. So that's when the community of people that we choose, that we trust, come in. And so I would just say to my friends that I have found that very helpful to have folks that you can trust when you're going through a yucky situation. that you can share with. And that's not for the whole world. You don't put it on Facebook usually. I have a relative that puts everything on Facebook, and I wish she wouldn't. But I think it is for two or three people, for each of us to share with, and to let them know that we're going through a tough time. And the world that we live in is trying. It is yucky. It is challenging, but that we have some resourcing. And with I think one of the resourcings that I would certainly encourage, being that I'm in a clergy collar, is that God cares for us, and God gives thanks for us because we're his human vessels here on this earth. But then also that we look for other ways to give thanks as we take care of ourselves, as we do the self-care, and we eat healthily, and we get the emotional support, and we get the right kind of exercise. That's taking care of ourselves. And I'll have you know that I now play 3 hours of pickleball every morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Yours truly has lost 20 pounds. And
congratulations.
It's been fun. So over the last 3 years, I picked that up, and we have about 40 people that come every morning, and it's basically the same group, and we've become a community, and we're looking at Christmas time together and things like that. So, you can find community where sometimes you least expect it. And I think that one of the challenges I had 3 years ago was that my whole community, if you will, was built into all of it being first responders or chaplains. So for me, I needed to, and I did, have other outlets besides my ministry. And I think that's important for us, not to be so heavily involved with one thing, that we have other avenues of support and of caring that will help us in those times that are challenging.
Oh, and finding things to do that you love, on a daily basis are also, like you said, are very important. So the fact that you shared that personal story about how you picked up pickleball, I mean, that's amazing. And
yeah, for an old guy, 69 years old, to play 3 hours every morning, I challenge George or Jeff to keep up with that.
Well, you're doing phenomenal. So that's should count for something in and of itself. So how can family members or friends of CISM responders and public safety personnel show gratitude during the holiday season?
I think, as I was saying before, I think to reach outside of ourselves, but we have to make sure that we're good to go before we can give to others, or else we're going to give from an unhealthy place. So I think that we can certainly use Thanksgiving Day or that time around there as a platform, but I think that anybody that is, or most people watching this, are going to be the cheerleaders that I have mentioned before, that want to be a cheerleader 24/7, 365. And so maybe let this Thanksgiving be a platform to moving on to other ideas of what would work in your community, within your department, to make a difference. We all have only this much time in our lives, maybe. And so let's look for those opportunities that we can create. Sometimes when I teach the Pastoral Crisis Intervention course or the church safety course with Dr. Victor Welson, is the folks will come up to me and say, well, what do I do now? I've taken your course. I say, you're getting the tools. Now go out and do it. Go out and make yourselves available. So if we just sit in our offices, not going to come to us. We've got to, we have to go out and reach out to them, and not just expect that the community is going to come to us. None of us are that good. Not even the former Dr. Billy Graham. None of us are that good, but that we have some skill sets that that we can use, some tools in our tool belt, as it's called, that we can go out and put our tool belt to work and to look for opportunities of serving and being cheerleaders for those that need cheering on. And then they're going to look for other opportunities that they can cheer on also. So cards, letters, dropping by, a day honoring your first responders. And the ICIS staff. So whatever you can think of, do something different maybe this time of year. Not something that we've done over the past few years, unless it's working for sure. Keep doing that. But look at doing something maybe different this year. The one thing that we're doing different is providing that meal for those going through the court system that are pled guilty to charges. And so we're trying to help them kick the habit. So that's stretching me a little bit out of my comfort zone because I always helped on the other side of the fence. So that would be just a couple of things, Kelly, that I would think about.
Those are all wonderful tips, not only for crisis responders and public safety personnel, but also for the family and friends of those same responders. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Certainly, yes.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Now, if anyone would like to learn more about Rob Dewey's ICISF courses that he's thoughtfully created or has taught in the past, we're actually going to put a link to the pastoral crisis intervention description down in the description below. So that way you guys can learn more and hopefully register for some of his upcoming trainings. If you've enjoyed our discussion today and would like to learn more about giving thanks and gratitude, Reverend Rob Dewey has actually put together a helpful PDF with some tips, tricks, and just some overall guidance. We're actually going to provide that to all of our viewers today for free to download. So feel free to download it and click on the link in the description below and actually share it with your coworkers, peers, and family. If you guys are looking for additional giving thanks and gratitude content on the ICISF resources page, we have past CISM news articles on this topic. To learn more and read the articles, you can visit icisf.org/resources. We actually have a new article coming up this month about giving thanks and gratitude. So stay tuned for that. You can sign up for our emails to be notified of all of our CISM resources by clicking on the link in the description. Another great resource is our member-only LifeNet newsletter. You can join thousands of others by signing up for ICISF membership and gain access to our quarterly LifeNet newsletter, where members worldwide provide helpful articles about CISM lessons learned, quick tips, and even heartfelt stories about how CISM has helped them in the field. And once you become a member, you can also view all of our previous LifeNet articles as well. So to sign up and become a member today, you can actually visit our website, icisf.org/sections/membership, or click the link in the description below. I want to thank Reverend Rob Dewey for joining me today to discuss giving thanks and gratitude. As we head into the holiday season, these tips will be very helpful. And I just want to say thank you to all of our first responders, our crisis responders, our public safety personnel that are going to be serving or working throughout the holiday seasons as they come up between now and the first of the year. Thank you all for what you do on a daily basis for all of us. And the ICISF staff would like to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season.
And Kelly, from those of us that are out here, thank you to you and all the staff that works with you for what you all do to keep us motivated.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure from all of us at ICISF. We're definitely passionate about the work that we do for all of you all, and we value each and every one of you. So if you've been found today's discussion to be beneficial, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or even leave a comment down below. We want to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you all then.